Hey guys, it's December 22nd and Ashes of Creation just did their December live stream update, and I'm going to give you a quick summary of the important details that came out in that. We will be going through it in roughly the same order that they did, which means that the Q&A section will be at the end of this video, which is the part where they answer some of the community's questions on the game. First thing that went over is that on January 13th at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, the Frost December cosmetics will be moving out of the pre-order packs, and they will be moving to the new pack, although they did not reveal what that pack would be. They also showed us a 40-minute video of some pre-alpha test gameplay footage. They mentioned that the map that was in that was about 70 square kilometers, and the entirety of the map that they're going for when it launches will be around 400 square kilometers, which is a pretty huge game. The majority of the content we saw in the 40-minute video they showed us was the devs battling a 2-boss raid fight, designed for 40 players, but they took it on with 7. Due to them being outmanned completely, they did use some GM cheats along the way, increasing some players' health, and periodically killing the second raid boss so they could show you some of the combat and mechanics. The two things throughout this gameplay that I did notice though is in the beginning of the video that the horses rearing up looks very well done, and I think the animations on that are showing a lot of promise with their mounts. And the second part that I would like to see was the animations on the bosses themselves. Look surprisingly well done given that's a pre-alpha test. The bosses weren't just stagnant and moving around, but they had some actually good cast animations and attack animations with their staffs. Another important part as you watch that stream is the combat still looks a little bit stiff from the player's standpoint. They did mention that the combat revamp that they discussed doing in their November update should be ready around March, which is pretty exciting to see, and I'm glad that they are putting a real focus on the combat and looking to improve it. They then went into showing some concept art of some different furniture for your housing. They believe it was some Empyrean concept art, but they were not sold on that at the time that they were showing it. They then went on to show a creation video really sped up of how they created the Fox at the Pyre mount, which looks incredible to me. I think that mount looks really awesome. And then went on to show some concept art of some Dunir Dwarves armor sets, along with a concept art of one of their troll designs, which I think looks pretty interesting and different from some trolls in some other games, and I quite like the horns, kind of resembling mountain goat horns. And then the final image they showed us was of the noble Warhorn Rhino. They teased this mount and a little bit of its concept on the last live stream, and this time we get to see it with full barding and saddle. Although unfortunately in this image, again, just like last time, they had it in the T-pose, so its extremity was locked flat up, which makes it look fairly horny in more than one way. They did do this live stream without Margaret Crone. She is on vacation at the time, and she typically runs the entire live stream, so it was somewhat messy and all over the place, and 40 minutes of the entire live stream was taken up with that video. So that was all the details that they went through at the time, and then they jumped into the Q&A. The first Q&A question centered around wars between two guilds, asking if there would be a way to set permanent wars between two guilds, that you can always be in that state, and the answer was no, that each declaration of war between guilds would have an end in sight, and that would vary depending on the victory conditions that needed to be met based on the size of the guilds and what they were battling over. Question number 2 was on guilds being able to invite to their guild from long ranges, given that fast travel will be very, very scarce in Vera. And yes, you will be able to invite people to your guild through name, using the guild menu, or through the chat, just like in standard games. They got asked whether or not each race would have its individual animations for combat, making an orc and a dwarf warrior look vastly different. And Jeffrey Bard mentioned that that would just cost way too much, and they will be reusing animations for combat. However, the racial abilities might show the influence of that race and be a little bit more spread out and broad. They were also asked if there will be a penalty and what will it be inside of structured PvP for dying, such as caravan runs, node wars, and things like that. Stephen Sheriff said there wouldn't be, that the negative for dying in those itself would be losing the caravan, and the risk and reward is already there. They want to incentivize people who don't normally PvP or try to avoid it to engage in those activities, and adding another negative besides just losing would be too much on the risk side as opposed to the reward side. They answered the question on whether or not dropped gear will have varying stats, not just between different items, but the same item. If I go to a dungeon and I loot a particular sword, if I go back to that dungeon at a later time and loot the same sword, will it have a varying level of strength or dexterity stats on it? And the answer on that was yes, it would be. They were also asked, will there be a starting mount for each race? And Steven Sheriff said, yes, technically there will be a human starting mount and an orc starting mount. However, you will be able to take a human and start in the orc area in the game. So the mount you earn will be influenced off of the area you're in for your first mount, as opposed to the race you selected. So a human character can get the orc area starting mount by starting near that area. And then they were asked if there will be a daily login reward in the game. Steven Sheriff said he thinks so, and that was his original plan, but that did spark a little bit of backlash or discussion in the comments during the stream. So they decided that it looks like they're going to try to have their January development discussion about login rewards and what people's opinion about that are. Some are worried that it could lead to a pay-to-win system, although they're fairly adamant that it wouldn't be, given that everyone would have access to it and there would be nothing game-changing in it beyond a cosmetic. So if you are interested in that at all or have an opinion on it, make sure you jump into their dev discussion in this coming up month and voice your opinion on that topic. Well guys, that was pretty much all that they covered in this update. I hope this summary was helpful for you. If you are interested in keeping up to date with Ashes of Creation but aren't interested in watching the hour-and-a-half long live streams, then make sure you hit that subscribe button so that you can stay up to date with these summaries each month. Thanks for watching. See you next time.